Good morning, everybody. If you're wondering what, not what you need to come out, if you're wondering about how you can come out in the best way possible today, what the challenges are, how you can get around it, and how you can be more mindful during the process, you have come to the right place. Good morning. My name is Seth. I run Comingouttarot.com. You can always find out more about me over there. But while we're here, we're talking about you and what you need to come out about today. So while I'm getting these cards in the right order, if you haven't already and you're watching this on the replay, hi replay, don't forget to subscribe so we can keep track of each other. Just hit that big subscribe button. If during the course of this you find the content is useful, please hit the thumbs up button, because not only does that let me know that it's useful, it also gets it in front of other people. And speaking of, if you know somebody else who can take advantage of this message today or should, make sure you share this video out so they can see, hear, and take some action on how to best come out today. And here's, take a minute and get these all lined up. Today's the day before Valentine's Day. It's the day when people start getting nervous about Valentine's Day. It's like, oh yeah, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I don't think we're not doing anything special. We're going to my mother-in-law's, I believe, which is normal Thursday for us. All right, interesting layout today for our obstacle. 8 of Cups, action, 9 of Swords, and mindfulness, 10 of Pentacles. There are no wands here, no fire whatsoever. We're solely in parts of the elements of creating something. So it's kind of like we're not playing with a full deck. And yet, the numbers are sequential, and that's important. How often does that happen? Never. I mean, not never. It's happening right now. But it is so rare that those numbers come up sequentially. I want to make sure that it is noted. These are in sequence for how this layout is, and that's always important. So we may not have all the pieces that we need to have the best coming out today, but we're doing things in the right order, and it is time. We're in the process of, we're on the edge of glory, basically. So awesome sauce for all of that. So let's get into some of the detail of what this means for you today. The obstacle being in the Eight of Cups space is there. How do I describe this? This is less of a moving on from an emotional state and more of a constant running of emotion today. The biggest challenge is like being in this whirlwind of, how do I deal with this thing? What is it? How are people going to respond? It's kind of like getting in your own eddy and just swirling. So when you get caught in those states of worry and upset and concern and how are things going to happen and how are people going to respond, and instead of just like testing the thing and doing it, or instead of doing the thing and saying, screw it, I don't care how they respond, you get stuck in this spiral of emotional despair about everything that could go wrong, and you get paralyzed and you don't move forward. That's the biggest challenge today, is getting stuck in this space. And part of the reason I say that is there's, like, with these cards, there's this emotional pain point that is just so prickly. It's just so challenging that I wouldn't be surprised if you go through this state multiple times, not as like a it's all day spiral. It's like and then things seem fine, and then and then you realize, wait, I'm stuck in this pattern of going through this emotionally confusing state, and it can be crippling. It can be really tough. So how do you get around that? This is the 9 of Swords. This is always, not always, this is frequently a counseling card for me. And knowing that we're in the sequential set of numbers, it is especially a counseling card for me. Finding the noise you're hearing is the ferrets playing in some ping pong balls. finding either that best friend or professional therapist or counselor to speak to today or in the immediate future is going to help you with this downward spiral of emotional state so that you can talk through why you're feeling that way, why it's coming up, when it's coming up, and how to best address it for you, because not everybody addresses that in the same way. If you didn't know, there's no quick fix to that. There's so many different ways to address that. So I would encourage you to, if it's easy to start with a friend, start with a friend. If you can get some professional support, get some professional support. But this is not something to take glibly, lightly. It is important for you to find support around yourself, especially those friends that you might think of as family. So that's truly your mindfulness exercise today is in the 10 of Stones. Who's the family you're surrounded with? Who's your best Judy? If you've been watching Drag Race or you're familiar with any of the lingo in the gay community, who's your best Judy? If you got a friend of Dorothy hanging around, then find them, especially if you're already part of the community. Hang out, have some conversation. What you might find is they have more insight than you thought they did. They may have been through this experience before as well. I think that that is going to be especially the case when you find that best friend, and when you have the right therapist or counselor for you. They've been through these conversations so many times, and if you find one that speaks to your soul and really connects with you, then I think you're going to find that they're a great, resource and insight. Future may feel a little bit off, a little uncomfortable in this space, but that's okay. It's meant to right now. It's meant to feel like things just aren't totally lined up the way you want. It'll feel just a little bit off though, just a tiny, tiny bit. Like everything's where you think it should be, and there's just one little tweak that you need to make. And if you can figure out that little tweak through this mindfulness exercise with your friend or your, and that's really talking to them and saying, here's where I am and here's where I'd like to be. They may give you that little key that you need in order to get there. All right, everybody. I hope this is helpful. If it is, thank you for those thumbs up already. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, if you think this is useful, make sure and hit that thumbs up because it not only lets me know it's useful, but it gets it in front of other people and that whole YouTube algorithm thing. Also, subscribe if you haven't already so we can keep track of each other. And it's almost Valentine's Day. If you're part of my mailing list, don't forget, you got an email from me saying through the end of this week, you're able to get a discount on your relationship readings. They don't have to be scheduled this week, just purchase through this week. And I don't want you to miss out on that discount because after Friday, they go back up again. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing for Valentine's Day. Leave me some comments about not only how this is part of your obstacle and how you're going to get around it, but I'd love to hear what you're doing for Valentine's Day. Like I was saying earlier, Steve and I believe, are still going to our mother-in-law, which is what we do every Thursday. Which is, I'm lucky. I get to spend a lot of time with family, and when I was growing up, I didn't get that because we were so far apart. So Steve being able to share his family with me is Valentine's enough, and I know that we'll have our own moment tomorrow, which is fine. So I'll tell you all about that on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good Wednesday. I'll see you all later.